If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. For one, it's free. Two, there are a bunch of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Not only that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more places. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's really everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
How's it going, lovebirds? You are now listening to the podcast that brings you real relationship advice from real relationship experiences. Here with me today, my guest is Jerissa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I appreciate you for making time for me in the podcast. I know that being a dental hygienist is very, very time consuming.
It is, yeah. It is and it isn't. It's really time consuming. You're on a time crunch like all day, trying to stay on schedule, but then it's also nice because I only have to work 4 days a week, so I get a 3-day weekend every weekend. So it's worth it to put in the time-consuming hours in those 4 short days, or 4 days out of the 7 days a week. So,
well, that is definitely a blessing. I would do that trade any day.
Yeah,
actually, now I think about it. So, you know how we like to do. We go straight into the questions. So my first question for you is, oh, by the way, the topic is when to walk away from a one-sided relationship. So I'll say that one more time. When to walk away from a one-sided relationship. Now my question. Jerissa, how did you know that it was the right time to walk away from your relationship?
So, my most recent relationship where this kind of comes from, it almost was kind of an opposite because I was the one who was broken up with. However, I think subconsciously I knew I should have been the one who walked away. And that feeling came after it was something that was continuously brought up in our relationship. It was kind of, okay, well, I've come to your house 5 nights this week. Could you come to my house kind of thing? Or I cooked you dinner and I asked if you wanted to go to the movies and I did this, but I'm just feeling like the energy isn't being reciprocated there, where I'm almost feeling like I want to see you all the time, but you don't want to see me kind of thing. And it was just something that kept getting continuously brought up. Like, it was not an argument, but a discussion that happened a lot more often than it should have been. In a sense that if someone really wants to make the effort to be with you, they're going to make that effort. You shouldn't have to ask someone that you're in a relationship with to make you feel valued or respected or appreciated or something like that. But, yeah, so it was just something that kept coming up, and I've just always been someone who has really, tried to give people the benefit of the doubt, and so it was something I was like, well, it's been good this week, it'll be good the rest of the weeks, and then it's kind of like a roller coaster. Like, we do really good and we're doing great, and he's giving me what I want back, and then it falls off again, and then it's that discussion that keeps coming up again. And then I kind of knew deep down, I was like, this isn't really fair to me, but I was having a hard time walking away because there was that hope that it'll get better, and it just wasn't getting better. And when he did break up with me, looking back, I was trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? What did I do, kind of thing. And really, it just kind of telling the story to my best friend back home and from here, explaining to them and confiding in them, I'm really hurt by this. Saying those things out loud, well, I asked him to do this, and it was always me asking him to do this. It was kind of, I was like, I definitely should have taken a step back and been like, that's not me. That is totally on them, because I'm putting in the effort to make things work, and they weren't. Yet, I'm the one who still ended up getting hurt, kind of thing. And so, it's almost like I knew, like I said, deep down that I should have been the one to walk away sooner than I did, but I just was holding on to that what if kind of thing. So I think that's where a lot of people like struggle, because they're the what if, you know, what if things change, or what if they have a change of heart, or, you know, kind of like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Was there ever, like, you said you felt it deep down. Like, at what point did you feel it? Was it, like, really early, or?
You know, it's kind of strange to me, because when this relationship began, I had just gotten out of a different relationship, and I wasn't looking for anything. It really just, it came out of the blue. Like, I wasn't looking for anything at all. It just kind of happened. And they say, like, great relationships are like that. And in the beginning, it was great. This guy was always wanting to come see me, always wanting to make plans, really great conversation, all that. I was really impressed. I was like, wow, this guy is really genuine. He really likes me. He's pursuing me. I'm just kind of being here. I'm not having to chase him, kind of thing. And which I hadn't experienced before. I mean, kind of, but it was always a lot more mutual in the beginning. But since I wasn't really looking for this to happen, I was just kind of stagnant while this man was pursuing me. And it's a good feeling, you know. Everybody wants to feel wanted, you know. And in the beginning, since I wasn't looking for something, I had just gotten out of a relationship, I was like very hesitant with him. I was like, you know, I'm not sure like how I feel about you. I wasn't ever intending to take things more than a friendship with you, so I'm just kind of okay where we're at. And I ended up falling for this guy, and when I fall for people, I tend to fall hard. So then it was kind of like the mutual, kind of like the honeymoon phase, I guess you could say. And then probably 2.5 to 3 months into the relationship is when I started to notice that the roles changed. He was no longer pursuing me anymore. He was just kind of had already, you know, got me, if you want to say.
Right.
And now that he had me, and I don't know if this is his thought process, but from my perspective, he felt like he didn't have to work for me anymore, because, you know, we're in a relationship now. There's no pursuing to do anymore. And so I felt at that point that I was the one who was like almost pursuing him in chase of the affection that he was giving me in the beginning.
Right.
And it was no longer there. And so that's where I was kind of confused, because, and kind of backtracking, we had been talking for a couple of weeks, and he was being kind of, I want to use the word sketchy, and I called him out on it. And he ended up telling me, and without going into detail, he ended up telling me the truth about what was going on. And it really wasn't a big deal, but it kind of threw up a red flag for me about this guy. And so at that point I was like, I don't want to do anything anymore. And he came back and was like, well, let's just make things official. Like, I think we just need to like lay our ground, like what we are, like define things. And I told him no. I was like, I am not ready to be your girlfriend yet. And so then the 2.5 to 3 months, when I noticed that the roles had kind of switched, I had brought that up. I was like, well, you know, I'm feeling like I'm putting in a lot of effort here, and you're not really giving me that effort back. And I'm just confused, because 2 weeks, 3 weeks into our relationship, you're ready to make things official. And now you're telling me, no, I'm not ready. Things are moving too fast, was what he had said, was why the effort wasn't being reciprocated. So that was really confusing for me. I'm sure you can imagine, because it's like, how are you going to pursue someone and want to be official, quote unquote, and now as the time passes, now you feel like things are moving too fast? Like, I was just so confused. And I think a lot of that affected my tendency to hold on to the what if. Like, things were really good in the beginning, we can get back to that kind of thing. So
I think that is very interesting, because for you to notice that red flag,
Right.
and for him to not be understanding of why you didn't want to be his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I always see that as like an opportunity. Like if he was able to, tell you what was going on, I always see that like that is an actual moment for you to be completely honest and transparent. So he had an opportunity to be that.
Yeah.
Did he uphold that, do you feel like? Or do you feel like there was more red flags that came after that besides the one-sided pursuit?
Well, it's hard because he is a very, he's a good person. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He did make a big mistake through our relationship, but there wasn't ever a lot of red flags thrown out other than that one, besides the fact that, so he was working a lot of jobs while we were in this relationship, and so time was a big restrictor, I guess, on our relationship, but it wasn't really a restrictor for me. He felt guilty that he felt like he wasn't putting enough time into me, which was the truth, but at the same time I wasn't really asking him for more time.
Right.
I understood we're in our mid-20s, we are hustling right now, we're achieving our goals, we're working to have, they hustle now, party later kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
And so for me, I wasn't asking him for more time. I just wanted to feel.
Yeah.
Like we were still in it, and I just felt like maybe a red flag that was shown was just him not being able to prioritize things, because we would have plans and then he would be like, well, I'm going to go hang out with so-and-so really quick. And then that hangout really quick would turn into 3 hours. And not in a way that he was like being sketchy with other people at this point in time. And it was like coworkers or whatever. And I knew it was coworkers and all that. But then it was like, we would have that discussion about, I don't feel like you're putting in the same effort as I am. And for instance, an example would be, he was like, okay, I was like, I want to cook you dinner, like, let's do a date night at my house. And he was like, okay, I'll be there at 7:30. I was like, okay, I'm going to make you this, and this. It'll be ready at 7:30. And then it turned into, my coworkers want to go grab a drink at the bar. Can we push it back to 8:30? Yeah, no problem. I'll just do this instead. I'll make sure that the steak is ready by 8:30. And then it's me texting him at 8:45, hey, where are you at? And he's like, oh, one more drink and then I'll be there. Okay, it's 9:30. It's an hour past the time that you said you were going to be here. The food's cold. Just one more drink, like I'm just finishing, like we're just having a conversation. Okay, 10 o'clock comes around, and that really upset me because time was so important to him. His time was so important to him, and me respecting his time was so important to him, but then it gets turned on, okay, well, I did this for you. I've been waiting here for 3 hours, and you aren't here, or 2 hours, whatever it was. Why can't you respect my time the way that I'm respecting your time? Why can't you? And the whole point was that we made this dinner because we were trying to get back on, like, I appreciate you. I want to show you the same effort that you're showing me, so let's do this. And now it hasn't even been a day, and you can't even uphold that. You don't respect or value me enough to tell your coworkers I had plans with my girlfriend. I'll say, I already postponed our dinner an hour. I have to go. Like, why can't you draw that boundary for me, but you can, but you're willing to do that for your coworkers? Like, in my opinion, I'm not saying that I am more important than anyone else, but at this stage in life, if you are on my priority list above my coworkers, I should probably be a little priority to you above your coworkers, especially if we already had this set in stone. It's not like I was just like, hey, come over for dinner, and he already had these plans. Our plans were made first. So it's just like, that's like a big like respect thing. Like, I was not receiving the mutual respect in that situation. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, that's just it's kind of common sense. If like someone is respecting your time and they're saying, like you said, if they're saying like, hey, I'm giving you all of me. We just had this conversation where we just talked about respecting each other and appreciating each other. And people aren't silly. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows that he's keeping you waiting, and he's still drinking more, and he's still, like, prioritizing his coworkers. I can definitely see how that can be upsetting and a big red flag, you know, especially when it comes to relationships, like romantic relationships in general. You know, like, especially, you know, because relationships, any relationship, you want to be respectful of someone's time, because you know that, like, time is the most valuable thing. You can't get it back. Right. But when you're in a relationship and you're keeping someone on the line, like, the kind of thoughts that they have, like, the kind of emotions that they have when they're thinking about you, are you safe is one of them. Yeah. You know, what are you actually doing is one of them. Your mind can start playing these games. And some people have a way of doing that on purpose. I'm not saying that he was, but even if you're not doing it on purpose, it can still bring those things into your relationship. So I think that it's probably not common sense, but I think that it's important to remember that, like, when you are spending time away from your significant other, it's like, okay, she made dinner, we set this time. If anything, what I can do to make her feel that I'm on the same page with her is to communicate with her. Right. If she's asking me where I'm at, then that is already a big no-no. You know, I could have texted you, like, before I had another drink. Or I could have said, like, hey, it's going to be a little while longer than I thought. Right. Some kind of something so that you know. So you're not, like, so that you're effectively using your time. Yeah. And not just sitting there wondering, like. And that's literally what I was doing that night, was sitting there. I had my meal in front of me. And I just started eating because I was like, I'm hungry. My steak is cold. I have been sitting here for an hour. Like, I'm not going to sit and wait here anymore. But the whole time that I was eating my steak was literally just my thoughts running. Why am I not a priority to you? Why can you not tell these guys I got to go? Like, is it really that important to have another beer with these guys? And the thing was, if it was just like, my buddies, I never get to go drink, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I understand. Have your fun with your buddies. But this was 2 to 3 nights a week that they would go to the bar and have drinks. Wow. And so it's like, and you've already been with them the whole work day. You really can't skip out 2 hours early. And I know they're not talking work this whole time again. You know, you're at a bar, you're drinking, and when you come to this dinner that I made you and I can tell that you're buzzed or drunk, I know it's not business at this point, you know. So it was just really frustrating because I'm like, the one time, can you please put me first kind of thing. And that was another, I guess that would be a red flag, was a reoccurring thing, was me constantly getting pushed aside for other people. And whether or not that was personal to me, I don't know, I'm not in his head, but I just think it was kind of an issue of, like I said, him being able to prioritize and balance what was important to him. I just think he had a lot on his plate. And that was kind of something when he did break up with me, he just said that he didn't have the time for a relationship, which I understand. But at the same time, there was other aspects that I knew in his life that he probably could have put off or worked out differently rather than just cutting me out.
On Taking Sides, the marriage podcast, listeners send in their relationship questions, disputes, and current disagreements. Hosts Dalen and Ashley Seeley, known as the Dashleys on Facebook and YouTube, then take sides and offer their opinion on the matter. The goal of this podcast is not to be divisive, but rather to learn to come together, gain tools for making a relationship work, and learn that the best side to take is the one you come up with together. If you would like to have your relationship questions answered, send your questions to takingsideswiththedashleys@gmail.com to hear your questions answered on the next episode of Taking Sides - the Marriage Podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
To this, when I had explained this to him while we were having the breakup conversation, I was like, why can't you utilize our relationship or me as your sidekick to help you achieve these goals or help you time manage or I can get this done for you. If you really want to work out, I'll cook you dinner and I'll clean or whatever. Like, you don't even have to ask me kind of thing. Like, I'm willing to do these things for you without asking. But instead, you just have this notion, almost tunnel vision, that I just don't have time. And then his kind of rebuttal was, well, I've just always been independent. I've done everything by myself growing up. And it's like, why can't you allow me to help you? Like, people don't achieve growth. I mean, to an extent, yeah, being by yourself and learning to be by yourself is great. You can grow, but why not grow with someone? Isn't that the point of a relationship?
I agree.
And so,
completely.
Yeah.
I agree. I have a similar relationship that ended in a similar way, but in a different kind of way. But I mean, for the main sense of things, it's like I completely agree with you. There's a whole thing of I don't have enough time, but the real truth of it is we all share the same 24 hours a day.
Right.
We all have time. How we choose to use it is the real thing. Now, it's one thing to say I don't have time at all, but it's a different thing to say that I don't have time for you.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like the big thing. And I think that people don't have like a real grasp of that because once again, they may have these things that they are focused on. But like you said, let's look at this. And you have to be in a mindset of we're a couple to even look at things this way, to even have like that partner perspective. You have to feel like you have a partner. So right off the bat, like that's a sign of him saying like, okay, I'm independent. I've been doing this by myself.
Yeah.
Even though we were in a relationship, I was an individual in this relationship.
Yeah.
And individually, I don't have time for you. So once you have that perspective of we're together, then you can have like the conversation of what you were thinking, like, why don't I just support you? Like,
right,
that's
exactly.
what normal people do in relationships. Like, hey, babe, what do you want for dinner when you get home from work?
Yeah.
Before you go to the gym, or what do you need for this day so that this can happen better for you? It's a partnership.
Yeah.
So I hear exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's something that I try to do too in a lot of relationships. Like, what can I do to help you out? Or I can tell so-and-so's stressed about something. What can I do to help? Do you need me to run an errand for you? Whatever it may be. And, sometimes people, one of his friends had come to me and was like, well, you aren't doing enough for him without him having to ask you, which it wasn't even, which I'm like, okay, you aren't in the relationship for one, so you don't know. First of all, you only know what he's told you. Second of all, it wasn't ever me having to ask him what he wanted because I would offer to do things, but he's so in this independent mindset that he didn't want the help. And that's a whole different story. You can't help people who don't want to be helped, but that was like something that also threw me off because this breakup kind of came out of nowhere to me. And like I said, it just threw me off so much because he was the one who pursued me. But then the reason we broke up was like, well, you knew when you wanted this relationship with me, you knew that this was a partnership. This isn't, yes, you have to be individuals in your relationships, but telling me that you don't have time is like, why wouldn't you have thought about that before pursuing me and before leading me along this far? And now I'm hurt from it, like, because I wasn't ready in the first place, and then I was ready for you, and now you're telling me that you're not. Like, it just was so strange how it flip-flopped like that, and it just seemed like, and I don't know, maybe you're a good male perspective on this, because I was talking to one of my guy friends, and he had said, well, he's like, from what you've told me, it seems like you were almost, because he's a very motivated individual and he has a lot on his plate, you were almost just something else for him to achieve. And then once he achieved that or crossed you off his checklist, he wanted to see what else is out there. Because side note, another reason that we broke up was because I got sent a Tinder account of this guy.
Oh, so actively while you guys were together?
Yes. And at first it was, I only had it, I got bored at work, I only had it for 5 minutes, I didn't talk to anybody. Then a week later it was, okay, I had it when I was going out of town on the weekends without you. And then 3 weeks, but I wasn't hanging out with anybody or talking to anybody. It was just like, hey. And then 3 weeks later, it was, okay, I had it the whole time we were dating, blah, blah, blah. And then I ended up seeing the messages that weren't just, hey, what's up, blah,
Wow.
kind of thing. And so that, to me, made sense when I was talking to my guy friend, that I was just another check mark on his list. Can I get this girl? Can I get this girl? Okay, I got this girl. What else is out there? What can I get next kind of thing? It wasn't I don't have time for you. It's, I'm bored of you kind of thing. And I think that also, and I'm not saying that's what it was, but it makes a lot of sense when you look back and see I was putting in all this effort and your effort just stopped. So,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you feel is pretty accurate. He does sound like a person who's more on the lines of, I'm not really looking to settle down,
right,
you know, like, especially depending on how he initially approached you, you know, because most guys, I mean, most people, you know, if they're on the attack and they're not communicating anything other than I want to settle down, you know, if they're communicating basic things along the lines of like, oh, I'm attracted to you in this sense, or, you know, basically playing that game of I'm telling you what you want to hear. Or at the beginning, of course I'm going to be on you. Of course I'm going to give you my time. I'm going to give you whatever you want that'll make this exchange happen for whatever I want.
Right.
Because it's easy to do something for a set period of time when you know that it'll end, or you know you'll get what you want. It's like, okay, Mom, I'll get that A if you give me that PS4. All I have to do is get good grades for 2 months. Okay, yeah, easy. School is easy now. So yeah, I can be the good boyfriend. I can play this role if it means getting whatever I want, or sex, or whatever it is that they want.
Right.
I can do that. That's no problem. What, 2 months? Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
You know, but then as soon as you get that, and it's the same thing, it's a whole Christmas effect.
Yeah.
It's like you wait all year, you wait for something, you wait for this gift, you get it, it's great. Oh, I guess it's not exactly what I thought it was.
Right.
You know, because for 2 reasons. One, you guys may just right off the bat not be the people for each other.
Yeah.
So you won't ever really have that feeling that's going to make you feel like, oh, I feel ultimately fulfilled around you all the time, because like deep down we know. That's why I asked you, like, at the beginning, I was like, how did you know? Like, deep down, when did you know? Because you kind of get that feeling right off the bat. Even if you have attraction with someone, you kind of feel in your heart, and then, you know, that goes up to your mind, and it's like, this is a great person, they're attractive, but I don't think they're the one. Like, I don't have that feeling, you know? But apart from that, when it comes to guys in this culture of Tinder, the fact that you're saying Tinder, Tinder wasn't even a thing like 10 years ago. Yeah. So there was way less chance of people saying, oh, yeah, I just had it for the weekend when I was out of town. It was like, no, man, you didn't. You know, it was like you don't have to, back when you had to physically go up and talk to another person, and you have to be this kind of guy or this kind of woman, because the only thing you're getting is FaceTime. You're only getting that communication. And right off the bat, they may be like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. So that rejection was so real. Yeah. You know, it wasn't like that. It wasn't that on-screen rejection where you get rejected by someone for saying the silliest shit, the most aggressive thing you can to someone to see if they'll respond. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, okay, they didn't like that. Okay, I'll try that to someone. On to the next one. It was like, it was so much more, you had to be strategic. You had to be, you had to be going with the intention of actually really genuinely liking someone, choosing a partner, because you knew that once you're investing your time into someone, it's very less likely that you be with another person, you know? Definitely. Because you saw them initially and you're like, okay, what do I need to say? Yeah. How do I open? You know?
It's a lot easier to say that stuff through a screen than it is in person.
Exactly. So. And also when it comes to wine and dining, or, you know, guys or girls giving you their time, planning out dates, planning out fun dates. It's like that's kind of out the window too.
Right.
Because, the direct intention for a lot of people is, the pleasure of sex.
Yeah.
So if you remove sex out of the picture, it's like, okay, well, you have all of these things in between. We have communication. We have dates, time together, pretty much.
Right.
We have arguments, the times that aren't good.
Yeah.
We got to decide if we want to do this with this person, because when those red flags come up, you have the option of sticking around or saying, okay, screw you, I'm going to pursue something else. So it's strange, and the way I see it is that kind of person, maybe he was doing you a favor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got to let go of what ifs, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, and then there was a period of time, and I slapped myself for even letting it happen, but we had been broken up for a while, hadn't talking, and then kind of rekindled things, and it was I made a mistake, I miss you kind of thing, and I've always been a bit of a doormat, if you will, but I understand that people are humans and people make mistakes, and so I was like, okay, we can try this again, but it's not going to be the same. There's trust issue that there wasn't there before, and like I said, like the effort thing, it's got to be mutual. And so for that first couple of weeks, it was mutual, and then it started dwindling down again. And so I'm like, if you can't even hold this up for a couple of weeks, like, it's clearly not going to work out long term.
Right.
And so I definitely think it was for the better. I think in the time being, it was, I think he just won me over with how his actions were in the beginning, and it caused me to fall hard for him. And so I just let those what ifs take over, and the feelings were strong there. I really did have super strong feelings for him, and I really did see a future with him. But I actually just saw a tweet today that was talking about when you say this stuff out loud and then you realize, how stupid am I for letting someone do that to me? Or, like, if my little sister was telling me about this guy doing this to her, I would be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you saying with someone treating you like that? And then you say it out loud and you hear yourself speak it over and over again. And that's kind of when I started to get over what did I do wrong? Why isn't this working out? And turn into, this is totally a him thing. It's not a me thing. This is an issue that he has with himself. There's nothing I could have done more or less to prevent this from happening. And why I know what I'm worth, I know what I bring to the table, I know what I offer, and what I was doing for him. So why would I settle for something like that? And that's just kind of how I've gotten over everything, I feel. Because the more I talk about it, the more that I'm just like, wow, I am worth so much more than that. And I will never settle for that again, kind of thing, so.
And you saying that out loud is, like, so key.
Right.
Because, you're just reaffirming, your self-confidence, your self-love, you're not settling. And you saying that to yourself more is like, okay, now my mind knows that when that next guy comes, we're not settling. We already told ourselves we're worth this. We're worth everything that we truly want and desire.
Yeah.
So we won't let this shit happen at the door. It's like, okay, forget that.
Yeah.
Especially since you obviously care about your time. So, yeah, I think that's really key.
Definitely.
Lovebirds, I don't know if you just heard what she said, but basically she speaks things out loud to reaffirm, one, to understand what it's like to hear out loud, to see, okay, maybe this isn't the best situation, or maybe this isn't the best thing to hear. Because a situation in your mind, you can play around with these situations and they can make sense to you, But, you can justify them. But as soon as you hear it from someone else, or you're saying it to yourself out loud, it's like, okay, maybe I am tripping about this. Maybe they aren't a good person. Maybe I'm making them a good person in my head. I've done that so many times.
Yeah. That's something that I definitely have done a lot, especially in relationships, is just I let people's words outvalue their actions. And, you know, talk is cheap. It's a real thing, you know. They say the best form of an apology is change behavior. So why am I letting these people's words outvalue their actions? They're saying they're going to do it. It'll be better next week. I was having a bad day, whatever. No, your day isn't so bad that you can't respect me enough to treat me the way that I deserve to be treated, you know. And the words only last for so long, you know. Your behavior is really what matters. Show me that I mean this to you. Show me that I'm of value to you, you know.
And going off of that, so that people know how this could have been a non-one-sided relationship, what things could he have done differently apart from you? Like him being away from you, him working all the time. What things could he have done differently to make you feel that affection, you know?
You know, it mostly, it just, like, stemmed from, so, you know, I don't know if you've discussed this on any of your other episodes before, but the people's, like, love languages, you know. That was something that I had brought up to him, was that I am someone that, like I said, I was letting people's words outvalue their actions, and that is one of my love languages, is words of affirmation. So I guess I tend to prioritize words over actions, which I'm trying to flip-flop that, because like I said, like, the best form of an apology is change behavior. So for me, all I really wanted was just that reassurance. Like, I guess his communication is something that could have been a lot better. You know, something, I haven't heard from you in 3 hours, but you're on Snapchat or whatever. I don't care, but all it takes is 3 seconds for you to be like, hey, I'm busy, I'll talk to you later, or I got caught up with this, I'll talk to you later, you know.
Or, hey, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah, it's simple stuff like that. You don't have to tell me I'm the most beautiful girl in the world and all this, a bunch of BS. Like, I just want to know that I'm crossing your mind, kind of thing. And so that was something that was an issue, I guess, was the communication just in that aspect. And then also when I would bring up stuff that was weighing on me that I didn't like, it was, I don't want to talk about this, I'm not good at talking about stuff like this.
What?
Yeah, I know. But that was like a thing. He was like, I'm just not good at these conversations. And it's like, okay, well, at some point you have to grow up. You have to be good at these conversations if you want a relationship.
Yeah, or listen. Just listen.
Right,
so you can know how to give feedback.
Yeah, or it was, another one was, well, other girls don't feel this way. Whoa. Kind of thing. Like you're the only one that feels that kind of thing. I'm like, no, I am a girl. I have girlfriends. I know I'm not the only one who feels this kind of way. So it was just like, I guess communication would have been like a key factor. And it was, like I said in the beginning, it was great. Like, he was great at communicating, and he was great at doing that. Hey, I'm thinking about you, or you know, stuff like that. But then it just switched. So yeah. I don't really know.
That's crazy that he compared you to other girls. That's like the biggest no-no.
Well, that's like a thing that, well, and I guess I'm not completely innocent of that either, because I've had a lot of, I don't want to say traumatic relationships, but just like, I've been cheated on by every guy I've dated. And so going into relationships, which is another thing that I'm working on with myself, I feel like I always had this presumption, like, something's gonna go wrong. And so in my effort to communicate to him that this is what happened to me in the past and I don't want to go through that again, he would always say, stop comparing me to your ex, stop comparing me to your ex. And in my eyes, I wasn't comparing him to anybody. I wasn't pitting him up against someone. I was trying to communicate, this is what I've been through. Yeah. So when you behave like this, this is exactly what my mind goes to, because it's just like,
it's experience.
Yeah,
you're speaking from experience.
Yeah, and so I think that's maybe what his retaliation was. Like, other girls don't care that I like so-and-so's Instagram post. And that's not even, like, that's a whole different topic. That's, like, could be its own podcast in itself. But it wasn't me being upset that you're liking this girl's Instagram post. It's me being upset that you liked this Instagram post of this girl who is topless and in a thong, and you are blatantly disrespecting me in front of people, and I don't like that. That's not me being crazy and psycho, because and you interpreting it as you can't like other girls' pictures on social media. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's just like
the old bait and switch.
It would all, yes, and that's what happened a lot, and that's kind of what happened too when we ended things for good. Something had occurred, and I messed up, and I admitted that I messed up, but he didn't show me the same grace and understanding that I showed him. As soon as I messed up, it was, we're done. I'm never talking to you again. You just screwed everything up for us. Blah, blah, blah. I'm the victim now. And that was something that also made me realize, okay, we are on two separate pages.
Yeah.
I am trying so hard right now to make things work for us, and you're going to let something as little as this just destroy everything that we worked for. So then it's kind of like, okay, I don't, why would I want to be with someone like that who can't show that same respect back to me that I showed them?
Yeah.
I just hit like a lot of stuff.
That was everything. I feel like
I've
what
been
we
like
needed.
all over the map with
That was what we
this,
needed. Do you have any last words for the lovebirds?
Yeah, I just think, the most impactful thing that I've learned recently is, if you are telling somebody out loud something that you've been through, and you're not sure you're feeling this way in your relationship, I'm not feeling that the love is reciprocated, I'm feeling disrespected, I'm feeling like I'm giving 110% and I'm getting back 50%. Talk to yourself or talk to someone, say what's going on out loud, and then go back and think, is this truly what I'm deserving of, or do I deserve better? Because I think 9 times out of 10, if you're saying this out loud and you kind of get that feeling like, wow, if someone else was saying this to me, I would tell them 100 times over, leave this person. That's when you really should take a step back and reevaluate your worth, because everybody, no matter who they are, is worth love, in general. And everybody is worth feeling loved and deserves to feel loved by someone that they have agreed to be in a mutual partnership with. I think it's so important for people to not downgrade themselves or sell themselves short of what they're really worth and what they have to offer.
Okay.
That's my last word.
All right, so you heard that. Reevaluate yourself. Know that you have self-worth. Know that you deserve love.
And know that you deserve just as much as someone else, if not more, of what you're giving to them. It should not be a problem for someone to give that back to you if they truly want to be with you and love you.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, lovebirds, as always, for listening. Thank you so much, Jerissa, for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
As always, stay blessed, not stressed.